Hello everyone to what is the final round here of the SimHound JCW Mini World Tour on Assetto course. So welcome to Curitiba, and joining me for the final round, it's not our usual Aidan this time. He's got caught up with some life stuff, so taking his place is the magnificent Trinket. Thanks for joining us, Trinket.
Oh, thank you very much. That's some high praise for me.
Some high praise for some hopefully great racing to come. As said, this is the final round. We've had 7 rounds so far. 21 races, sorry, throughout the last couple of months, and it all comes down to this at Curitiba. Some great racing, some chaotic racing, some messy racing at times, but hopefully this sort of more simple circuit will lead to some good racing. Coming into this final round, let's have a little look at standings in the final success ballast, of course. Lord Frieza is leading the way, 792 points with those 50 kilos. Johan Karlsak, 7 points back in second, but Sedia Dondelu only 1 point behind Johan in third. 5 kilos less than Johan, 10 less than Frieza. Should be an interesting fight. Alfie Bevan is back in fourth with Stevie Bain in fifth. Gus Peters, Jacob Hine, Otso Hartman, Tim Bob and Ash Hill rounds out the top 10, with Paulo Grady just missing out there on that top 10, but does not have any success ballast to worry about. Looking in our class standings, Johan, bit of a bigger lead in the pro standings, 29 points ahead of Frieza, only 8 points separating Frieza and Dondelu, much like in the overall championship, funny enough, for the classes. And Stevie Bain not too far back there. He's had a couple of good rounds in the last couple of weeks. So, you know, if he has a good round and Sedia or Frieza have a couple of issues, maybe could see a podium position for him. Looking at the AM standings, Tim Bob is leading the way, 55 points ahead of Paulo Grady. He should effectively have this wrapped out, but as long as he finishes tonight's races. Adam Ide currently holding on third with good gap ahead of Ben Matt, who isn't with us this week, with Zach Silver rounding out the top 5 there. Qualifying has already started, so we will get into this. First times coming onto the boards as people complete their first flying laps. And let's see, let's go to Jacob Hind, who's just starting a lap.
Ah, Mr. Jacob Hine, the one I fought for the oNiD 500 last year.
Yeah, you're mentioning before we started on the stream, you remember this track from some AMS 2 days. Why don't you take us through a lap fit? We've just gone through the opening chicane onto the back straight.
Well, it's been a little bit, but it is certainly a very, very fun track. It's a bit of a unique inner part of the track here, which we can see Jacob turning into now. It's quite a tight corner, a little bit off camber, possibly, and then right up to the hill. It's quite easy to lose it, as we saw that mini ahead, a bit of wheel spin. But so kind of think of it as a bit of like a Snatterton with the inner part of the track in an outer loop. But of course, we have the inner loop, which mixes things up a bit, and is certainly a very fun one. And then some very fast kink corners here that, depending on the car, might be able to take it flat out, but from the looks of it, not quite. And then just a nice final long right-hander, very similar to the first couple of corners, to round out the lap here. Lots of places to go wrong, lots of places to make up lots of time, lots of tyre smoke on the track from people pushing it right to the limit. We'll see what Jacob Hine can do here on this lap. It looked relatively clean.
Did indeed. Didn't improve in the first sector, which we missed a little bit of, but did set personal best second sector and will put themselves up to P7. We'll just follow on board through these opening few corners. These are quite tricky. Start finish straight, you just about get to the rev limiter. You have to brake for this little bit of a chicane. The second car being covered up by smoke there from people just pushing as hard as they can, getting a bit of wheel spin, and Jacob Hine will go down the back straight. Doesn't, again, not a personal best within that middle first sector, sorry, but plenty of time to try and improve upon later on in the lap. We'll go to Johan, who's a little further up the road, currently improving on their first sector. They sit 4/10 off of our provisional pole time set by Dondlo at the moment. Let's see if they're able to get close up on that and maybe help keep themselves in front row. Actually, no, they've decided to abort back to pit lane, getting a new set of tyres.
It was very off-putting seeing them just instantly return to garage like that.
Yeah, it is an odd thing they can take advantage of, as we see Friese up to P4 with that lap. Very close between 4th and 6th. Stevie completes a lap, but not enough, just shy of improving any places. Let's see, Overstreet on an improvement here. Coming up to the line, not enough, lost a bit of time in the final sector and was not able to improve. Lucas Smits coming through the final couple of corners. Again, personal best sectors 1 and 2. We'll have to see if they're able to nail those final couple of corners, get themselves to improve the time, but just half a tenth away from Overstreet's time.
Been pretty close so far with all these times. They're not all too far away, though Dondolo with 4/10 lead at the moment with 2 minutes and 55 seconds to go, so it's looking quite strong for Dondolo so far.
Yeah, Friese coming through the middle factor, the fast S-bend, as we see Gus Peters there having had a spin out of it, just showing how difficult this section can be. Drivers will need to push, especially as the track grips up through the evening. Don't want to leave time on the table there. Out of the final corner now. Improvements in both the first and middle sector. Be good enough. They come across the line. It'll get them up to second place, but still a quarter of a second off of the pole time.
Stevie Bain also moving up into 4th place as well with an improvement.
Let's go back to Adam Ely, who's just entering this middle sector here into long right-hander that brings you to the infield. We'll go on board for a bit once more through here. Tricky braking zone, this one coming up. The track just sort of curving to the left as you're trying to get the car slowed down. Sort of unsettles the minis a little bit.
Well, certainly one big difference from when I drove it in AMS2 is I didn't drive it in a very powerful front-wheel drive car, so it's always very different how you have to drive in, certainly in tracks like these where you're pushing the limit in high-speed corners like this.
You've got balance, the throttle balance, the understeer from it as well. Adam Ely, another personal best in the middle sector, but does need to find a bit of time. Half second off Overstreet at the back of the field. Is able to close that gap and maybe jump up a few places. Comes across the line, improves on the time, but still 2/10 off the back of Overstreet, who themselves are improving. They're just coming out of the middle sector. Let's see, it's not a personal best in the middle sector. So through the final couple of corners here. And the end, Overstreet does improve, but still not enough to bump themselves up any positions. We're getting towards the end of the session now as we see Overstreet running wide, cutting the first chicane, and that'll be the end to their session. Let's see, anyone else improving? Doesn't seem to be anyone else improving, except maybe Tim Bob. They come across the line, yeah, didn't improve in the end. So we'll go back to Adam Ely, who's coming towards final sector, using all of the track there in the curb. Gus Peters runs wide and will invalidate their final lap time. These laps matter, not an improvement in middle sector again for Adam. So we'll be unlikely to see them improve, but we'll see them across the line anyway as the checkered flag is out. Yeah, that does not improve there. Johan improvement in the middle sector. Comes up to line, improves the time, but not enough to get themselves on the front row. They'll be starting third at best. Let's go to Ash Hill, one of the few cars with a personal best sector. In the first sector, that is. Middle sector isn't looking great. Drivers struggling to improve late on in the session. Tires maybe just a little bit too worn on the front of the cars. So come across the line. They need to find about 3 tenths if they want to make any places up, which looks unlikely at the time being. And yes, Ashhill doesn't improve in the end. Last one on lap. Tim Bob, through final couple of corners. They've not been improving on this lap, and it will be a P11 start for them. We'll just see them across the line to confirm. And as they do, yes, no improvement there. And that is our grid for the first race of our final round.
It was very close. It's not separated by too much between each driver.
Now we're used to seeing close battles up and down the grid. We do have some close ones tonight as well, but a quarter of second lead at the front of the field is a bit of a surprise for this. It seems like Gus Peters is having a little bit of a connection issue. Hopefully he should have time to rejoin before the race begins. And there he does so indeed. So now just have a little moment for the drivers to relax themselves and start thinking ahead to the race. Ben Matt in chat, gutted to miss this track, was really looking forward to it and saying it's going to be a tight fight within the AMS Championship. Well, could be a tight fight for the win of this race. Paul O'Grady in 5th place, leading is our highest place AM driver. Tim Bob, not feeling as confident this week, is down 11th overall. I think that is P3 within the AMS class. So having a bit of a struggle today. Might not be able to repeat his, might not even be able to get a class win. Never mind an overall win they got earlier on in the season at Sportsland Sugo. But who knows? It's a tight first couple of corners. Plenty of opportunities could arise on lap 1, couldn't they, Trinket?
Oh, absolutely. There's lots of space on this track, but there really is only so much space to be used for that racing line, so going too wide through a lot of these corners is not very viable, especially in a front-wheel drive car where you're pushing all of the pressure of the car onto one side like that. So there's lots of moves that can be made here, and it will be quite rather interesting.
Yeah, but we could also see for a few mistakes, perhaps, as people are pushing the limits, and maybe that could open up opportunities for drivers to try and get past each other, given how close some of the field is.
There's only one way to find out.
There is indeed. Our drivers will be gridding up in just a moment, and then we'll be set off for our first 15-minute race of the evening. Remember, we have that reverse grid coming up for the third and final race of not just this evening, but the full series, as we see our drivers gridded up now, waiting for the lights to go out. Quite a bit of space on this start-finish, a lot of track width here. The cars, though, still grouped quite closely together from one row back to the next. So a good start here could get you up a couple of positions, as there will be space. You won't get boxed in like you can at some of the tighter, narrow tracks, and it's not like there's a massive gap that you have to close in on to the car in front. There's sort of only a car length or two between the rows. Waiting for the lights now to set us underway for our first race of the evening. Lights coming on then. And away we go. It's a good start from Johan, third on the grid. As we see our drivers firing off to T1, already ducking into slipstream, trying to get any advantage they can. I think Johan has jumped Friese to take second place already. Is looking to the outside of T1, trying to send a long way round. Is a little bit too deep, and Donlu will hold on to the lead. Big bounce onto two wheels for Stevie B in there as they go over the second apex. As they come on to the back straight. Good start for Ash Hill. They've made up a couple of positions as Stevie being dropping back, but is going side by side as they come towards the right-hand hairpin. Friese ducking out at the last moment, either to defend from Paul Gritty or maybe trying to attack Johan in front of them. But Stevie fighting, trying to hold off Ash Hill, having got that place back, has done in P5, but under a lot of pressure from Ash, who's trying to get back through.
Very close at the back there with the two cars side by side going into that corner, and they're no longer side by side. Oh no, there they are. You have to forgive me, I can't recognise the cars by their liveries just yet, but they just tuck in right behind.
Through this S is Adamile trying to get brave, trying to carry speed through the first part, get to the inside of the second part, but just had to back out wide for one of the cars in front. I think that was Zach Silver going wide, as a little further in front Stevie Bean has got back past Paulo Grady up to P4 where they started this race, but Paulo Grady has got a cut back here. It's going to be a drag race down towards T1. Stevie on the outside.
Who's going to be the brave one into turn one here?
Seems like Stevie's got to slow into line, but Paulo's got to do exactly what Stevie did the previous lap, bounced over the first curbs, or the second apex curb, puts him on an awkward line for the third corner, and onto this back straight. They're going to get sort of trained past as Ash Hill is right on the back here. You can see him bump drafting Stevie past Paulo Grady, trying to get past himself, but Paulo Grady's going to try to hang the long way round here. Don't run too wide, don't hit the grass, and is going to come back. Has a run on Stevie, but nowhere to go. Boxed in between the pair of these, and Gus Peters in the background, you can see, is trying to get involved as well. Looking to the outside, trying to break it, nearly getting into the back of Ash Hill. And Paulo Grady now down another spot. Ash Hill up to P5.
That was very well classed from Ash Hill there, using Stevie Bain for his opportunity and just managing to keep it all together in there. It's unfortunate for Paul O'Grady there, he really lost out in that, but there is still plenty of the race to go. Maybe he can use Ash Hill to get past Stevie Bain again.
Might be able to, but actually looks like Paul O'Grady will be going a little further backwards. Gus Peters closing in as we see Steve Bain aggressively to the inside to try and defend. Paul O'Grady not fussed on playing any slipstream games, as we also see a fight for P2. Friese with the slipstream, looking to the outside of T1 on Johan, sending it on the brakes, was in a little too deep further back. Gus Peters still trying to get past Paul O'Grady on the inside, will get the move done, and that's allowed Jacob Hind to close up into this battle as well. Down the back straight with the slipstream, can see Gus Peters coming over to defend as we see Ash Hill looking to the inside of Steve Bain, but it isn't close enough. Gus Peters way too late on the brakes into the grass and gravel. He's got these few positions, and Paul O'Grady, big drift there through the hairpin.
That was certainly something, but still going forward, no walls hit, and just unfortunately lost some positions, but let's see what they can do to recover from this now. You can see Stevie Bain there with Ash Hill in front. I must have missed that.
Yeah, Ash Hill did get a move done. Maybe Stevie a little late into the second hairpin, allowed that move to happen. Johan has stayed in front of Friese for this lap. It's opened up a bit of a gap as well. Stevie trying to look to the inside, trying to see if an opportunity is going to open up on Ash Hill. Ash holding their line well, carrying good momentum onto the straight again. Over to the inside wall, trying to block the slipstream towards T1. Ash pulling back to the racing line. Stevie is going to get alongside, is going to have the inside. Can he get slowed down, making the dive? No, runs in too deep, cuts the second apex, and is going to have to give that spot up and try again at another point.
The drivers are certainly pushing everything that they can to just maybe a little bit too far. Ooh, side by side in the background there.
Indeed.
Polo Grady. Is that Tim Bob?
Zach Silver.
That's Zach Silver.
Trying to get in front of, trying to run it the long way round the outside, using all of the track on the exit, but doesn't have the grip to make that move work. You can see Gus Peters in the background as well, also trying to recover from their moment going wide. They're catching up to Tim Bob. So to the second half of that, you can see Stevie being still right on the back of Ash Hill. Let's Slick over the rear wing of Ash Hill. See how Stevie's trying to set up the move. Closes in through the S's. Maybe tempted to try and move into the final couple of corners, and space is there. Ash Hill a little bit wide. Even wider in the background is Jacob Hine. Luckily they're not under threat, but as they come onto the start-finish straight, Stevie just in front but doesn't have the momentum. Ash Hill gets their nose back in front. But can Stevie come back into the braking zone for T1? On the brakes then, into T1. Stevie with the tight line just gets themselves in front. Ash Hill trying to hang it around the outside. The gap wasn't there, so we see contact between Paulo Grady and Zach Silver. Paulo Grady getting spun round, cars going either side of him, and he has to wait for pretty much most of the field to go past before he can recover. That's really unfortunate, nearly halfway into the race, dropping to the back of the grid. So we'll look back up to this battle. Jacob Hine thought they saw an opportunity, tried a move into turn 3. Ash Hill has been able to hold on to P5, hasn't been able to hold on to 4th place, though Stevie has got that move done and is trying to open the gap now, take the pressure off them, and Ash Hill is trying to follow, trying to make sure they're still close enough to pick up the slipstream down the start-finish straight. Move back into T1. Jacob running a little bit wide there in the background. As he comes through the final corner, maybe gap's a little too big for any overtakes this time round. They'll look further up. Friese now running a personal best lap of the race as they try and close in on Johan for second.
Halfway point through the race now, some gaps are starting to form, but there's still plenty of fighting going on, lots of people really pushing for any position that they can find.
Yeah, any position indeed. Stevie, after getting that move done, also set their own personal best to open up half a second to Ash Hill. They'll be looking to carry on that momentum, but Ash Hill will be trying to sort of reset themselves and close back up. Also have a move now. Adam Ide trying to go round the outside of Tim Bob for P9. Just closing in. Long way round. It didn't work earlier on in the race for another battle we were looking at, but Adam Ide has got the nose there alongside. It'll be the inside for the hairpin coming up.
Lightest bit of taps there, and it just unsettled Gus a little bit, but he was able to hold on to it and sneak right into front of it and into the front of Adam there and keep a hold of that position.
Yeah, if they were in rear-wheel drive cars, Tim might not have got away with that little bit of contact, but he's out wide through the second part of the S's, immediately defending the inside into the final couple of corners. Can Adam set up a move, get the slipstream towards T1? Get themselves into P9, both Leafs drivers within the class as well. Tim defending the inside, Adam pulling over quite early to the outside. How brave is he going to be on the brakes? He's going to be very brave, going to get his nose in front. As long as he can make the turn to apex, which he does, that is move done for Adam Ide.
Still looking to the inside on the exit there. Can't tell how close they are together, but they will be trucking down this straight into turn 5. It's just not quite a long enough, but is a long enough to try and make a move. But Adam holds on to it, keeping enough momentum around the corner to keep Tim Bob behind. Thinking it was Gus this whole time.
speaking of Gus, so Gus has closed in on Zach Silvers, trying to get the bar exit here out of the second hairpin. I'll be the inside going into the S's, but outside for the second part if they don't get the move done early. Zach is going to try and hold it the long way around. Now has the inside, but on that tight line has to get on the brakes, hold the tight line, and Gus uses the momentum to get past and is up to P7. 5.5 seconds though to catch up to Jacob and Ash Hill in front. Meanwhile, Tim Bob's got a good run out of the chicane, got to the inside and got themselves back past oNiD for 9th.
It looks like Adam's got a bit of speed and they're almost side by side. Will Adam be able to replicate what he did on the previous lap? Or does Tim Bob have just enough momentum to get right in front? Oh, Adam Ely with the switch back!
Brilliant switch. Yeah, brilliant switch back that one. But Tim Bob says anything you can do, I can do just as well. Switch back onto the back straight though. Hasn't given him enough momentum. It's going to be neck and neck into the hairpin. Tim Bob with the inside still. Adam is either going to try and hold it long way around it. No, he's going for the cutback to try and get the bar exit, and he has done just that. It's still neck and neck. It's going to be Adam with the outside. Never mind, he's got the move done, and he is clear heading into the second hairpin.
That's some stellar fighting from the two of them. Now it's just who can hold on to it and keep their race clean. Try and not scrub any more of the tyres than they already are doing plenty. Let's see who comes out on top of this for now, but it looks like Adam is pulling a little bit ahead now.
Yeah, Zach Silver coming back at Gus Peters. Maybe made a mistake through the chicane, but Gus trying to get the cutback, wedges the door open. The space was just about there. Let's come on, start finish straight. Gus Peters with the inside, but we've seen doesn't necessarily mean you're going to hold on to the position. Zach Silver, personal best lap of the race as they try and fight for P7 here. But looks like on the brakes, Gus is going to get the car slowed down, and Zach has to slot back into line.
Right onto the curbs is Tim Bob. Not going to lose them some precious time.
Jacob Hind down the inside of Ash Hill into the first hairpin. Gets the move done as he parks the car on the apex. Ash Hill not able to go for a cutback as such. And we'll have to try and fight back here into the second hairpin. As a little further back, Paul Gritty's got a move done on Lucas Smits as they try and recover after the spin in the first couple of corners. But Ash Hill not giving this one up, or are they? They slot back into line as they head into the chicane. But I imagine they're waiting for any little mistake from Jacob to get back through. But clean exit from the S's for Jacob. It'll be about the exit out of this double right-hander onto the start finish straight. Jacob a little bit wide there. Allows Ash Hill to the inside. But does Ash Hill have the momentum? He needs to duck in for a bit of slipstream. Towards T1 then, Ash Hill on the outside is good, trying to hang it the long way round on Jacob, bounces up over the second apex curb, and they're still side by side on the exit. Ash Hill with the outside though, gets the bar down, drives himself back up to P5.
Looks like this one might be going to the line, because this, I believe, is the penultimate lap for all the drivers.
We'll just about get one more lap in. Jacob looking to the inside of the hairpin. Ash keeping it neat and tidy, holding on for now. But Jacob is good. Fight this one. Big dive to the inside, way to the onto the brakes. Runs themselves wide onto the grass, and with the time they lose there, that should surely be P5 secured for Ash Hill.
It's been a little bit since I've had a commentary curse, but it's good to flex it right back into full force.
Oh, when you're in this comms booth, the commentator's curse is as strong as anything. Have a look back now as the leaders cross the line for the penultimate time. Starting the final lap, oNiD running wide. They're not as wide as Lucas Smits in the background. gets all the way out to the gravel. And if they're not careful, that will be enough for Chris Overstreet to close in, put some pressure on for this final lap. We've seen quite a few mistakes throughout, not just qualifying and the race. You can see Overstreet pushing hard, trying to close in. Look at that, Timbo, personal best lap of the race. They're not done. They still want to try and get P9 on this final lap.
This looks like it will be, and barring any mistakes from any of the drivers, this looks like it's going to be the closest fight to the line, unless Chris Overstreet can make a move on Lucas Schmitz, because some gaps have really started to form in this latter half of the race. Stevie Bain now nearly 4 seconds ahead of Ashley. Hill, but 4 seconds behind Luca Friese.
Yeah, that fighting between Ashel and Jacob Hein, really, that Stevie run away with that. Tim Bob's had a bit of a poor lap here. The bounce over the curb at turn 3 really scuppered their momentum down the back straight, and if anything, that is putting them under more pressure from Paul O'Grady behind. But as Paul O'Grady catches up in the final half a lap, Dondlo is coming up to the line to take their first victory of the evening from Lights to Flag leading the way. They'll take the win ahead of Johan Karlzak. He'll take second. Friese dropping to third this race as Stevie Bain tried challenging forward but ended up having to fight those further back. Jacob, we get P6. Gus falling to P7 after a mistake running wide. That would help Zach Silver up to P8. Adamide fended off Tim Bob for P9. Paul O'Grady, mistake, getting caught up in a contact in a battle, spun round, and would only be able to recover to P11.
It was a very good first race for tonight, I have to say. Lots of fighting, lots of mistakes. Maybe the drivers will take that into consideration for the second race tonight.
Maybe they will indeed, but our second race isn't going to be much easier. There are the results from the first race on screen. As I said, Dundlo, those are the qualifying results. Let me just get them updated. One moment.
And as Tim Bob appearing into the Twitch chat saying, just
held on ahead of Paul O'Grady, as you can see, down 6 places. Good racer from Adamide. He struggled in qualifying, had the slowest lap time within the qualifying session there, but up 4 places and was showing some decent pace at the end of that race.
Well, hopefully this time around starting reverse grid for this one, yes?
Yes.
Yes, so we're starting in P2?
Sorry.
Oh, it'll be the third one tonight.
So yeah, third race is our reverse grid. We'll have a little break as we switch to our second server for the evening, and then we will have a shortened 5-minute qualifying session where the track will not be as grippy this time.
A bit of spice. I like it.
Yep. Keep drivers on their toes, making them have to adapt to different conditions for this race. But yeah, we're just waiting for our second server to go up. Seems like there's a little bit of an issue with it. But yeah, hopefully it won't be too long before we get into our second set of races. Ben saying it wouldn't be a Ben's away week without him screwing something up on the server. Luckily, it was only the practice time. We were about to have another 50-minute practice session. But thankfully, Stevie is on hand and has corrected it. But drivers will still have 5 minutes to warm themselves up from the first race, reacclimatise themselves to the slightly different track conditions, and then we'll be getting underway for our second qualifying session. It's going to be quite difficult. We were seeing lap times just under 1.5 minutes after the through so far. So we'll maybe see about three or four flying laps for our drivers in the second session. But with the mistakes that we've been seeing, might see some people out of position in the second race.
Could very well possibly be.
So we can switch back over. We can see our drivers out practicing, getting themselves warmed up again. Yeah, we will have a few minutes before our session. Just a reminder of how things stand in our championship standings. Coming in with the overall standings, Friese was leading the way, though finished third in that race. We can actually also get the results up to compare and contrast. So Friese leading the championship in third, may have dropped down to P3 in the standings. Johan, second in standings, took second, and third in standings. Dondlu took P1. So that could flip that top three standings on the head, but with 2 more races to go, it is still all to play for. Alfie Bevan not here this week. It's going to lose out to Stevie Bain for 4th in the championship, who was showing good pace. Their fastest lap of the previous race was only 300ths slower than the fastest lap of the race. So if Stevie can break away from those behind him, get himself into that lead true battle, he might have the pace to give them some issues, which could make that overall championship fight a little bit more interesting. Got some more gaps behind, especially with some drivers missing out on the final round. You can't blame some of them. The summer heat well in effect this time of year, and yeah, we're seeing some very hot weather at the moment. So some drivers.
It's been very lovely.
You're really enjoying it?
Oh, absolutely. Especially over the weekend, I did the Watkins Glen 6 hours in iRacing. That was a sweat fest. In 2 ways.
I imagine. So what was your longest stint then for the 6 hours?
We were split between 3, so it was just under 2 hours. But even that, just in this heat, without any air conditioning and just a fan in the background, it's quite warm.
Yeah, that is quite warm indeed. Summer drivers.
One thing I could not imagine doing is doing it in VR, which one of my drivers does.
Yeah.
But they have AC, so they have the excuse.
They make it a little worse for themselves, but they don't have as bad to begin with, per se. I think one of our drivers, I think Stevie, races in VR for our AC championships. Might have to ask him about that at the end of our third race. I would drag him in now, but practice is about to come to an end shortly, and drivers will be thinking about the second qualifying session. As we've mentioned, it is only 5 minutes, so drivers will make sure they get themselves onto the track, get themselves into a bit of a rhythm what they can, and get a good lap in. this is generally, we do see the field a little more shaken up. I'm thinking sort of Friese in that first qualifying session was sort of straggling around 7th, 6th place for sort of the first 2/3 of the session. It was only really the final few minutes where they put themselves up into the top 3.
That certainly would be beneficial to them if they were able to do that. So I imagine it is quite up there in their priorities for this.
Yeah, we'll just have a quick little look at the class standings as well before we get into session. Things a bit more spread out here. Of course, the success ballast is based on overall. So Tim Bob carrying 10 kilos for this evening. Will be struggling more than their other compatriots. But then the pro standings, of course, the ballast are a bit more representative, though Johan not leading the way in overall, but having the lead in pro is helping them there. But Sedia, race win in the first race, will have closed the gap there at the top. But 3 victories in 3 second places, I don't think would be enough for Sedia to take the Pro Championship. So it is going to be very close. And Ben's saying in chat that he's clearing his download folder on his phone so he can update the championships as quickly as possible afterwards. That's greatly appreciated, Ben, as it could be close. If the races go on as they are, it could be very close in the Pro standings, let alone that overall championship as we seen.
And as you say that, race 1 results uploaded.
Yeah, we'll see when that update comes through. Has to come through SimGrid and then the spreadsheet that is used for our graphics. So we might be able to get an update on that through after qualifying, perhaps. If not, we'll certainly get it between the 2nd and 3rd races. A little bit delayed, but better late than never, I suppose. Qualifying getting underway for the 2nd time. And I'm just looking here. It is accidentally been made 10 minutes. So drivers will get a normal session as a change. It's just about them putting in a good lap.
Maybe we use this opportunity wisely.
Yes. And of course, Ben also reminding us, dropped rounds playing into this. So yeah, we'll not get a proper championship update, you could say, until the end, as of course when drivers only have 1 race result, it will be their worst result of the season unless they have done unless they've missed other rounds of the championship. Yeah, and I believe it is just 1 dropped round that we have. So those people that have missed a week will be benefiting straight away from the first race results. Those that have made every week will have to wait until all races have finished to find themselves a little bit better. Currently leading the way is Zach Silver for laps. So how about Trinket, you talk us through this first flying lap of the session?
Oh, well, on board with Zach Silver going through the first little chicane that we saw lots of people going side by side through the first race. So obviously have plenty of experience trying to nail it. Looking very clean from Zach this time around, and down the nice straight. I'm a bit lost for words, really. But coming into my favourite part of the track, the long little off-camber right-hander here, into the in section. Nice little hairpin, lots of fast corners going almost flat out, if not completely flat out through them. Lots of opportunities for fighting in the race, as we saw. Lots of chances to make mistakes running wide, especially in corners like this. Just a bit too much power. And off the track you go. So keeping it nice and clean is Zach Silver. And then through the fast little chicane kink here. A little bit of correction from Zach there, tap of the throttle. And just powering through. The one thing we're probably missing is all the tyre smoke in the background. But coming into the final corner now, we saw lots of people taking different lines through here. Some doing wide lines, some keeping it tight on the inside, but all going side by side down the straight. Zach Silver takes what looks to be an optimum line as he comes across the line now to maybe improve his lap. It looked really good. That was a good.
Let's see, 129.8 as Johan 29.6 times, very close. The opening part here, Ashil 129.4, so drivers a little further back, losing in Chris Overstreet coming up to the line, 29.9 for the first flying lap. Stevie being up to second place, 29.4, just a quarter of a tenth off the top time. Dondlo, though, will come, put themselves 4/10 clear with their opening lap. Fraser, next cross line, quarter of a tenth quicker, sorry, up into provisional pole. And Gus Peters, completing their lap, will be up to P5. Very close at the opening parts of the session. Let's have a look at Ash Hill, who's put in the fastest first sector.
The fastest first sector, but 4/10 down, so lots of time to make up in the other sectors. And it's curious what kind of sectors Friese and Dondolo are doing if the first sector for Ash Hill was that much of improvement. And also a personal and session best sector 1 again for Ash Hill. Another 0.03 seconds faster there. Let's see if they can find any more of that time in the second and third sector.
3-second sector,
but
9. Yeah.
It's quite slow through the second sector there as someone goes off as well.
That's Jacob Pine running off. We'll see Ash Hill up to the line here. It's still personal best middle sector. So up to line. Johan puts themselves in P3, improves, but losing time in the final sector. Ash Hill does not improve in the end. Was 14 thousandths slower that in the end for that lap. Let's have a look. Paul Grady puts themselves up to P8. For them, Gus Peters trying to improve on this lap. As coming across the line will go P4, splitting Johan and Ash Hill. See a couple of cars coming out of the pits have reset to get themselves a new set of tyres. We also have Adam Ely yet to set a lap time. They've left a little bit later in session to go out, feeling they don't need their early laps as much. We'll go to Dondlo, who's on an out lap actually, but has set the fastest middle sector on their out lap. Don't waste the speed now, save it for the actual flying laps. Zach Silver coming up to line is not improving, but we'll see what the time is anyway. It's 29.626, a couple of tenths slower than where they sit currently, 3 thousandths off of the car off of Stevie Bain in front of them. We'll go to Stevie Bain, who's find themselves on the back of Paul O'Grady here, who's not been having a great lap. Paul O'Grady's actually invalidated their lap in the middle sector. That's held Stevie Bain up. That's a bit awkward for them. As we were watching that, Johan has got themselves not into the top 2, but much closer, only 600ths off the top time.
Very interesting seeing how all the times are split in these sectors. A lot of drivers seem to be struggling in the middle sector compared to the top drivers.
Yeah. So all of you can help keep track as we're going to look at Paul O'Grady. He's gone purple in the first sector. The first sector split is on the exit of turn 3 onto the back straight. The second sector split is by pit entry as you come into the final 2 corners. So the middle sector, long sector, it's 49 seconds, which is about half of the lap, if not a little bit more, is actually Sergio Dondolo. Purple in the middle sector has gone to the top of the timing sheets by 0.06 of a second. They may be at the top, but the gaps are very close. We'll go back to Ash Hill, who, coming up to the line, Ash Hill is a personal best in the middle sector, does improve, but it's not enough to take to break into the top 3. Paulo Grady still has fastest first sector on this lap. Personal best middle and final sectors, that bumps him up to P5, just within a tenth of Ash Hill. And immediately displaced by Gus Peters, who will retake P5. Let's have a little look elsewhere. Tim Bob on the lap, currently sitting down in 11th place. Let's see if they're able to bump themselves a little further up.
Looking not the cleanest lap from Tim Bob so far, but maybe will be enough to improve. We'll soon see how their middle sector fares against their previous personal best.
I believe the sector times are relative to the fastest lap of the session.
You can see it is green, but still a green again, so just one more corner and they should be improving.
Yeah, it is 2 personal best sectors. Ash Hill has improved, but is 5 thousandths off of Johann's time. Tim Bob comes across line and it's enough to displace Jacob Hine for the final top 10 position. Jacob, though, hasn't validated this lap in the middle sector. We'll see Gus Peters, he's next to come across the line. Hasn't improved in either sector so far, and yet is 4 tenths off of their personal best as they cross the line. Time is starting to run out, though. These will be final laps coming up soon. Lord Fraser racing to get one final lap in. They will get one more lap in, but missed actually. Dondolo has gone even quicker now, 1.5 tenths clear at the top of the timing sheets. Is on their final flying lap now and has actually set a purple middle sector. Are they going to raise the bar a little bit further, as the track has been proving throughout the session? Up to the line now for Sergio, wins after winning race 1, sets a benchmark, a 1:28.8. Johann is not going to be coming across the line into the barrier at the final corner pushing. They will be starting on the second row at best. We're not seeing a lot of improvements up and down the grid again. Tyre wear making it difficult to improve. Tim Bob, personal best opening sector, though loses it, runs wide out of the final corner, will lose that time. Paulo Grady in the background is going to be the next to complete a lap. It's personal best middle sector as they come up to the line. Too much time lost in the first and final sectors. People crossing the line. I believe we have one more car. It is Friese, personal best middle sector, but didn't improve in the first sector. As they come up to the line, will it be enough? They need more than 2 tenths on their personal best lap to get pole position. They will not improve on the final lap, and they will have to settle for second place, where they started the first race but fell to third on the run to T1.
There's a very commanding P1 from Dondolo that time around, but very close between Friese, Kalschak and Hill there, just milliseconds separating them.
Yeah, again, it's very close times throughout. Just in comparison to the first session, to demonstrate the track evolution that we get through these sessions that is lost when we reset the server. Pole time from Dondolo in the first quali was a 1:28.2. As you see there, it is only a 1:28.8 this time, so 6 tenths slower this time, and the gap from first to second is 1/4 of a tenth smaller than it was in the first quali. So if anything, the field has closed up a little bit. One person who I think might be a little bit disappointed is Stevie Bean, that we can see through the gantry supports there, as they qualified P4 in the first session, but only P7 here. Few places to make up for them.
And Paul O'Grady as well, sitting up in 6th place. Can't remember exactly where they were in the first qualifying, but I'm sure they're hoping to make this race a cleaner one.
Yeah, they were in P5 for the first session. They were 6 tenths off of pole there in that session. This time they were only 0.477, so closer to the pole time, but 1 place further up, just showing how people have improved in the second qualifying session. And the grid has just bunched up, which should hopefully make for an even more interesting second race coming up soon. Let us see if the standings have updated. Let's have a little look. Yes, we have. Remember, success ballast here will be wrong. Success ballast does not update between races, but it's showing Johan as 3rd. So it is.
And I distinctly remember the gap being originally 6 and 7, and it is now 3 and 38. So that has changed. And of course, Stevie Bain now up into 4th place, with Alfie Bevan down to 6th, with Gus Peters also moving up.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused by Johan's result there. But yeah, that is how it currently sits apparently. But 2 more races to go, still plenty to change. We can see our grid here. Top 3, same as they were for the first race. Everyone behind them, though, has shuffled. No one outside of the top 3 are starting this race where they started the first race. Some people positions to make up, some trying to hold on to a good quali result. Lights are about to come on now and send us away for the second time this evening. Here are the lights. And we're away again. Good start from a couple of people. Chris Overstreet getting a very poor start there from one of the back rows of the grid. But as we head towards T1, a couple of cars pushing towards the pit exit. Dondlo having to defend the inside from Johan. Is Johan going to get to the inside from 3rd on the grid? Tries to back of it, jumps over the turn 1 curb as they head through Ash Hill, trying to get up to P3 ahead of Fraser. Can they hold it round the outside? As everyone, a lot of bumping as everyone fights for space through the first opening corners of the race.
That really bunched everyone up there, some getting a great start, some getting a poor start. Just look at how close and compact they are, with Dondolo getting a nice little lead from that. Oh,
Tim Bob.
That is a big, unfortunate accident there. I'm not quite sure who went into who there, but that sent off about 4 cars. Tim Bob and Stevie Bain, the slowest to recover, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was Tim Bob, I think, missed his braking point in all the battling and tried to take to the grass to avoid people, but of course unable to slow the car down on the inside of the corner. It was destined to be a crash. Unfortunately, Ash Hill and Stevie Bain being the unfortunate casualties of Tim Bob's mistake. But Paul Grady fighting away with Gus Peters here, having a look to the outside of the final couple of corners. Zach Silver lingering in the background as both those promoted up after opening lap carnage, as Overstreet making up a couple of places as Lucas Smith has come into the pits from last on the grid. I think he made a jump start and is serving a drive-through penalty.
It did look like they had an amazing start of the race. That does explain that.
Fana into T1, Gus Peters down the inside of Paul O'Grady. Jacob Hine down the inside, Zach Silver bumping through the second apex, and Jacob Hine cutting the third corner there, will come on in front of Zach Silver, but might have to give that position up. As we see in the foreground, Paul O'Grady fighting back to the inside of Gus Peters. Can Gus Peters hang it the long way round here? Tyres smoking as the rear end tries to slide round. In these front-wheel drive cars, the lift-off oversteer that they have. Gus defending the inside later on the brakes. Runs it in deep into the hairpin, just about keeps off the grass, but can Paul O'Grady get their nose alongside? They do indeed. Could be side by side towards the S-bends here. Paul O'Grady on the inside for the first bit. Doesn't hold the nose in, will back out of it. Gus will hold on to P4.
Different lines once again through the final corner, but no significant moves being made yet. It does look like Paul O'Grady might have a bit of overspeed on Gus Peters, just a tiny bit, enough to take it to the outside as Gus protects the inside. Keeping it very close and tight. Looks like Paul will have to back out, but might be able to make a switch around happen here. Does not look like it.
I have the exit out of turn 3, holds a tighter line. Does he have the traction and the momentum? Gus comes over, gives a little nudge on the door. He's trying to squeeze Paul O'Grady to the inside, but Paul is there alongside. It's Jacob Hound and Zach Silver fighting in the background as well. Paul a little later on the brakes, trying to get themselves in front, and they do indeed. Up to P4, but you can guarantee that Gus Peters is going to try and fight back. Jacob Hound getting the move done for P6 as well, but Zach Silver go fight back. Jacob having to defend as Gus Peters tries to go round the outside of Paul O'Grady there, but it's too wide to make it work. And sort of similar story for Zach Silver, not able to make the move work on the outside through the second hairpin.
Drivers are certainly feeling the effects of the track progression, as it is starting to progress a little bit further now, but not quite to what they're used to. So maybe just pushing for moves that just aren't quite happening, but no one going too far off track just yet, minus the accident we had, but that was less grip and more spin.
Yeah, more missed braking points. Zach Silver struggling this lap a little bit, or has Adam Ede, who again, not a great qualifying session for him, was down in P12, but is coming alive in the race, putting the pressure on Zach Silver, sending a move to the inside. Can he get it slowed down? He does indeed. Zach has to jump over the curb at turn 2, just in the wrong place. Good move there from Adam, positioning his car right where he needed to.
Taking the opportunities laid out before him and taking them head on. He's now up into second place for the AMS standing on grid here, I believe. Just 2 cars behind Paul O'Grady up in fourth.
Yes, you're correct indeed. Paul O'Grady still fighting away. Gus Peters trying to get to the inside, bumps into the back of Paul O'Grady, pushes him a little wide and does get to the inside because of that. That was a bit naughty there. Is Gus going to feather out of the throttle? Maybe let Paul O'Grady have the place back. He does look like that indeed. Paul holds on to fourth with that. Gus trying to get aggressive, trying to make a move happen, but it's going to have to try another time, and we'll have to make it a little bit cleaner than it was there.
With 9 minutes to go, the pressure certainly is on.
You can see in the lap times are a bit of a per lap from Friese, half a second slower than Johan in front of them, and that's opened the gap up between the top 3. Johan saying fastest lap of the race as they try and close in on Don Blue. Things calming down a little bit here, but good opportunity to go to jump to Ash Hill. Already past Overstreet and has got up to this battle. Has a good run out of turn 3, making a move on Zach Silver on the recovery drive from that lap 1 incident with Tim Bob.
Keeping it very close and tight, but still side by side. Looks like Zach Silver's going to have the inside for this corner here, and that might make all the difference here. But Ash is keeping that side by side. But that corner there really changes over, so switching to the inside.
Looks like Gus has got the move done on the inside through the central hairpin into the S's. Will get the move done. Paul O'Grady has to slot back into line, but if Paul can just keep a good line and get a good run out of these final couple of corners, slipstream down towards T1 should provide him an opportunity to come back. We'll go on looking over the rear wing of Gus Peters. Can see how much Paul O'Grady closing in with the slipstream. Personal best lap for Peters. But seems like O'Grady not to being patient there, not to what's the word? Doesn't seem to sort of like necessary to go for the move. Just seems like, yeah, I can sit here, I can wait this one out. I don't have to make this move right now.
Lots of mistakes have been made in that first chicane there, so maybe just deciding I'll take it somewhere else, or just follow along until the end. They're in a great position as it is now. Maybe they just want to bank it in.
Ash Hill going for a dive to the inside of Zach Silver through into the infield. Zach, though, has held the outside once again. We'll have the inside. They come together. Ash nearly pit manoeuvring Zach, and is going to send it down the inside once again. Can Zach hold it round outside for a second time? Have the traction or momentum off the exit? Doesn't seem like it. They'll still be side by side, neck and neck, as they come into the chicane. Zach's round the outside for the first part. Seems like it's going to work. A little nudge in the apex. And Ash Hill runs a little bit wide from that, as so does Adam Ide that we're on board with. And it looks like Ash Hill is going to lose out. But Zach Silver runs in deep into penultimate corner and gives the places up anyway, after Ash Hill falls behind Overstreet.
Now that's Chris Overstreet up into third in class now as well. Just under pressure from Ash Hill. But Adam obviously a bit happy from that result.
Yeah, up to P7 overall. Now this battle, Paul O'Grady still trailing Gus Peters, using the slipstream. Probably realising that, maybe thinking that Gus is a bit quicker than he is, thinking that if he goes for a move, he's only really going to hold himself up. So instead using slipstream, trying to just keep up with Gus. Maybe help him to hold off Jacob Hine, who is closing on those two. But we'll jump back as Steve Bain has cut up to the back of Zach Silver after that mistake last lap. But Zach not making the move for P10 easy for Stevie here. It seems like Zach in this part of the track just has Stevie covered off. Last thing these pair will want to do is fight each other and hold each other up, as Jacob Hine has had an issue and is dropping down the order, falling behind Adam Ide, Ash Hill, and nearly falling behind Overstreet as well.
Jacob was trying to push towards catching up with Adam Ely and trying to... I know they were behind... yeah, no. Ooh. They've fallen a few places down.
Yeah, losing 2 positions and maybe the potential of P5. We'll go back to Ash Hill, looking to get past Adam Ely now, who's up into P6. Been a really good race for them. Up 6 places from where they started in P12. But it's going to have a lot of pressure here from Ash Hill. Ash looking to the inside is going to send it in. And Adam doesn't seem to be fighting that one too hard, unless he's going to get a cutback here. Maybe opportunity there, but hasn't quite got alongside.
Very almost went onto the grass on the outside of that corner there, so very lucky to have kept it out of that. As we see Zach Silver now caught up on the back of Chris Overstreet, with Stevie Bain still over the back of them. This is going to be a close And quite intense fight coming up soon, I would expect. Oh, but Stevie going on to the inside.
Doesn't want to wait around, does Stevie. Gets the move done. With the slipstream down start finish straight, Zach might have an opportunity into T1. The question is, does Zach want to fight this for P10? Or does he want to think, actually, let's work together to catch cars in front? Zach sending it to the inside. Stevie leaves him the room, but holds it on the outside. And at the end of the day, really, they've just slowed each other up through the first corner when they could be closing in on Overstreet, who is starting to fight a little bit with Jacob Hein. And in fact, to the inside goes Overstreet on Jacob Hein. Jacob really struggling, maybe with some damage, perhaps.
Yeah, it does seem Jacob is running a bit slower than they were beforehand. Carried a bit of a train in the back, but obviously not wanting to give up any of these positions. As Chris off the track and losing both of those positions.
Maybe a little scared by both Silver and Bean, looking each side of him, nearly making it 3 wide. Just, I think he did get a little tap in the mid corner there, but ended up running wide, unfortunately losing that place. Paul Gray still back is Jacob Hein wide into the gravel once again. It's going to drop back to P11 and Stevie Bean up the inside as Zach Silver. These two still fighting at it as they come onto the start-finish straight. This will be the penultimate lap of the race. Remember, the reverse grid race coming up, so any places drivers make up now will put them one place further back on the grid. Stevie on the inside has to leave the space for Silver on the outside. He's going to try and hang it the long way round, but hasn't quite worked out now. But into the slipstream for Silver. Fight is not done. Let's go, maybe look to the inside. Does indeed, as they come to the first hairpin. Doesn't commit to the move. Stevie comes across a little later on the brakes as they try and hold on to P8.
Zach all over the grass on the inside there, just looking for any space. Once again, just diving into the middle, trying to find any way through, but Stevie is just keeping the pace and making sure that Zach can't adjust yet.
Stevie nearly onto the grass, entering the S's, just showing how much they are pushing. And Ash Hill showing as behind Gus Peters. I think that might have been a little timing glitch. Let's see as Ash Hill comes across the line. This was indeed sometimes leaderboard does just show up a little error, a little change of position, even though it never happened. Just keep us on our toes. But on to the final lap. Johan Karlzak, with the fastest lap of the race, has been trying to chase down Don DeLue for the lead of the race. Is closing closer than they were in the first race, but they're not quite close enough to make a move on the final lap here. I'll stick on board for the final half lap here of Johan. Show just how much they're pushing. I mean, theoretically, a good run through the final couple of corners. Best slipstream, maybe a last moment move. Drag race up to the line, potentially, but need to be a really good final couple of corners. Throw it in. Johan running a wider line here, trying to prioritize that exit, but with the tighter line, Sedia pulls a little bit of a margin. It will not be close enough for Johan, and Dondlo will come up and cross the line to make it 2 for 2 here at Curitiba. Johan will have to settle for second place. Once again, Friese will take third. Gus will get themselves up to P4 this time as Ash Hill, falling back, will finish P5. Polo Gritty will get P6 this time, with Adam Ide taking P7. Steve Bain would recover up to P8, holding off Zach Silver for P8 and 9. Overstreet will hold on to top 10 ahead of Jacob Hein, Tim Bob, after a misjudgment on lap 1 causing an incident, will finish P12. And Lucas Smits rounds our grid for our second race here, but of course we'll start on pole position for our third race coming up soon.
I have to say, good job to Adam Ely there with 5 places gained in the race. Of course, some of that were through some mistakes, but right at the end there, only half a second back from Paul O'Grady, so a little bit longer of the race, and that might have been a fight for the AM win of that race.
Yeah, I'm looking at the fastest laps, and again, when it comes to 1 lap pace, Adam Ely does seem to be struggling. Most people are in the 128s when it comes to their best lap. Adam Ely is the 3rd slowest driver on best laps, but it seems like he's being a little bit more consistent, staying out of trouble. Good racecraft as well, and it is helping him to achieve these results that are, maybe a little bit more than he would have been expecting after qualifying.
Yeah, it's been a good result for them this time around, and it is the old adage is that consistency is better than outright speed, really, especially for longer races, and it certainly is showing itself a bit here.
Yep, is indeed. Now, we have, as usual, a little bit of downtime for the drivers to rest a little bit in this hot weather, cool themselves down a bit before we go for our third and final 15-minute race. And we've seen some good racing so far. It's not been too chaotic, but reverse grid coming up, it's shown every race so far this season. It has just been on another level of excitement, of intensity. I know you haven't been with us so far this season, Trinket, but hopefully, fingers crossed, drivers will keep it clean and you'll be getting in for a good showing.
Well, we can only hope. But everyone loves a good reverse grid race, I'd say.
Yeah.
We also have a Ben Brown in the chat going, a wild trinket? Indeed. You have to catch out your web to catch me.
So, weak to webs, are you?
Excuse-moi?
Well, if you're saying Ben should deploy a web to catch you, are you suggesting you're weak to webs?
I suppose so. I guess it's more of just a nuisance. You start throwing webs at me and it's like, alright, what do you want?
I'm just thinking of this as like a Pokemon battle. The way Ben says a wild trinket and you say he needs a web to catch you.
Just get the Master Ball out of it.
If you were a Pokemon type, what Pokemon type would you be?
Whatever a Fennekin is, I would assume.
My Pokemon knowledge is not very good, so I would...
My Pokemon knowledge is limited to the first game on the Game Boy. And Pokemon Yellow with a yellow Game Boy.
Maybe you should move on from...
Well, it's not like I've played it in a long time either.
Yeah, well,
I was thinking after the Switch 2 announcement that I've not owned a Nintendo console since the Wii and DSi. It's been quite a while.
Yeah, actually, same for me too. Has been quite a while as well. Might come back to that a little later on. We'll see. But for now, attention turns to the final race. Everyone on the grid in the reverse order from their finishing positions of the last race. Lights are coming on for the final time this season. And we're away to finish off the John Cooper Works Mini World Tour. Another great start from Johan, but gets boxed in between Gus and Fraser. Will go to the outside and it's 3 wide as they head from turn 1. A little bit of wheel banging already before they get to the braking zone. Over the bumps and into the braking zone. Gus Peters into the back of Stevie Bain. Throws himself into the wall to not take anyone else out. Luckily, Stevie getting away with this time. 3T1. Sedia looking to the outside of Freeze on the inside, still 3 wide, nearly 4 wide up in front. Sedia not able to make a lot of progress so far. Jacob up to P2, but look at this battle towards back for the grid. Overstreet there, sort of in a little bit wide, is 3 wide in the background. Johan on the inside gets up to P8 as Overstreet just sort of gets shuffled out on the outside. Next target for Johan is Adam Ede, or is Adam Ede, but Ashil, sorry, is Ashil in between the two of them. Ashil getting dived by Johan, but we'll try and fight it round the outside and side by side into the S's. Ash will get back in front, but Johan trying to go for the comeback, but Ashil holds the inside of the second part and will hold on to P7 for now.
Getting very hot at the start of this race. We'll see how things progress towards the end, but right now looks like everyone's looking for a way through. So we've got 2 trains down the start-finish straight here.
Do indeed. Look anywhere there is a battle going on at the moment. Stevie trying to slipstream past Tim Bob for P4, but Jacob Hind round the outside of Lucas Smith. Luca misses their braking zone, cuts across the runoff, and will rejoin on the outside of T3. They're going to have to give up a spot, which they do to Jacob, but they'll hold P2 as the fighting behind continues. Ashil trying to get past Adam Ede as well as they head towards the 4th corner on the inside. Adam Ede trying to squeeze Johan, who's going for a move. The front wheel drive saving Adam Ede, who was at nearly 90 degrees to the track. They'll get away with that as Zach Silver trying to get past Lucas Smits into the hairpin. Lucas Smits holding on to second place as Stevie Bain puts the pressure on and is trying to get past Zach Silver instead for 3rd.
Oh, there's so much going on. There's Zach Silver and Stevie Bain going side by side. There's Stevie Bain off onto the inside. Hopefully not losing control into anyone. Still going on, but that's that little mini fight off there with Tim Bob now on the inside of Ash Hill here.
Yeah, Tim,
keeping it real tight on the inside.
In a way, was trying to pass Zach Silver. He was compromised from Stevie, still off, but is also under tremendous pressure from Ashil. Fraser darting over to the pit wall there to defend from Johan as they are fighting over the championship. Look at this swarm of minis into T1. Stevie on the outside. Luckily, look, it doesn't miss their breaking point. Couple of cars in the runoff. Adam Ede well into the runoff. There is everyone fighting for position in this midfield. I tried to tell you what was going on, but it's so difficult to tell with the swarm of bees from this camera angle. We'll go back out front where Stevie Bain is trying to get round the outside of Lucas Smits. Seen this move work with the momentum, and sure enough, Stevie up to second place. 1.5 seconds to close to Jacob Hine if they won't make that move, as Zach Silver has DNF'd from the race, unfortunately. So then, our championship contenders, Dondlo is at the front of them. Johan in second place. Ignore that he's gone to the lead. That is just a little timing error. Frieza is down in 10th place. 2 cars between him and his main championship protagonists. It's not looking good as we see Tim Bob on the inside of Ashil bouncing over the curb. That's really going to compromise their momentum onto the start finish straight. Look at that, Sedia in the slipstream is pulls to the inside to overtake Tim Bob, but Johan is going to make it 3 wide as they come towards turn 1. How much is Tim going to fight this on the outside as they head into the corner? Tim backs out from the side by side. Sedia no choice but to jump over the curb. Not much room left by Johan. and onto the back straight. Sedia with the outside line is going to try and hold on to that position. Looks like they'll have the momentum, and just by hold on, Johan into the slipstream as Adamide looking for a move on Tim Bob as they come into the right-hander here. Johan still on the inside of Sedia, but we've seen the momentum on the outside. It can work, but Johan still got good drive off the inside this time. Sedia is going to have the inside for the next hairpin coming up, as Adamide has got themselves past Tim Bob. Friese having to defend from Gus Peters in the background as well. Dondelu with the inside does hold on to P5, but Johan still fighting this one around the outside into the S's. And Johan looks like he will get the move done with the inside, cuts across the nose of Dondelu, and it's up to P5.
It was super close, and it's 6 minutes into the race so far. A gaggle of minis all fighting. But in the background of that previous lap, I did see Paul O'Grady missing turn 1, just like we saw at the start. Losing a place to Friese and then to Peters as well, so not a great lap for Paul O'Grady.
Adamide is now trying to fight back past Dondelu. Doesn't care that he's in the AM class and Dondelu is fighting for the overall win. Is up for a fight anyway, though hasn't had a great run through the opening corners and is coming under pressure from Friese. Still train of cars, less than a second between all of them, and Stevie Bain actually has caught up to Jacob Hine and has made a move for the lead. We missed that while we were checking. He was 8/10 quicker last lap, was Stevie, as he set the fastest lap of the race. But Jacob Hine is going to try and put him under pressure, forces Stevie to defend the hairpin here, but Jacob runs in a little too deep on the brakes. And looks like Stevie might have the pace to take another win in this series. Dondelu, though, falling back a little bit from Johan, or is actually closed up to Johan, sorry. As Adamide just holding Friese back, holding that train back as they come through to the final sector now.
I did see Stevie Bain and Jacob Hine at the front of one of the cameras a moment ago, door banging side by side. Looks like Stevie Bain will have it from now, but Dondelu right on the back of Karel Jack. Diving onto the inside.
Right outside for Sedia, but backside of it in the end. As Adamide holding firm. They might have the championship leaders amongst them, but it is not stopping them. A little further up, Ash Hill trying to go for a move on Lucas Smits to the inside of the hairpin. That looks like it will be an easy move for them. Interesting part is what's going to happen here as Johan and Dondelu catch up to Lucas Smits. You remember, started on pole position for this race in Friese. Mentioned coming under pressure from Gus Peters. Gus down the inside, gets to the inside of Adamide, who I don't think was expecting the move, turned in there on Gus Peters, found themselves getting bounced out wide, and will drop down to P10. Unfortunate for them, but Gus with a committed move got themselves alongside and is up to P7 with that double overtake.
It was a very heroic send, but it worked out in the end.
And now Friese also dropping behind Paul O'Grady as Steve Bain sets a new fastest lap of the race out front, trying to pull away from Jacob, as Johan going on the attack on Lucas Smits, trying to get the move done on the inside of T1. Will do indeed. Like, it tried to sort of come back with the momentum of the wide line, but unfortunately Johan had their car parked right on
that
the
is
apex.
Paul O'Grady there, just losing it, yes.
Yeah, Paul contact with Adamide showing up on the timing screen logs. So they've had a little coming together as now Dondelu is trying to get the move done on Lucas Smits. Is going to have to go the long way round the outside of the hairpin here. They'll bump as they get to the exit, but the space is left there. Lucas Smits bouncing over the curb, over the grass a little bit. Just going to allow Dondelu to get that move done and try and chase down Johan once again. And now Gus Peters.
So in the background, Tim Bob taking a place from Adam Ely, pushing them down to 11th now as well. This fight is still side by side through the final corner. Oh no, the penultimate corner. Now into the final corner. Looking like Bruce is taking the lead here, but maybe Luca can get a bit of a run down the straight if they have a good exit.
Looks like Gus has got a good exit. It was broken up a couple of car lengths. It's going to mean the slipstream is not effective. The personal best lap of the race is pushing on to the cars in front. They'll further back though. Adam Ely trying to fight with Paul O'Grady, and Paul O'Grady is back through after the contact between those two on the previous lap this time. And they'll get through much cleaner this time, but unfortunately at the back of the field as Friese now is the next one to try and pass Lucas Metz.
It's just incredible how much tyre smoke comes out of the back of these minis on these corners.
Indeed. Reminder of the success ballast coming into that all the drivers are dealing with. Maybe those 5-10 kilos that Friese has extra over Dontlo and Johan, just making it that much more difficult to get through the traffic, as we can see on the back of Lucas Metz. Remember, of course, finished last in the previous race, or second race of the evening, put them on pole. They have been dropping down the order, but it hasn't been a quick descent. They've been fighting back, trying to hold on, and they're certainly holding on to driver who was leading the overall championship coming into tonight. Won't be leading it anymore as we come out of the final round. You can see Overstreet in the background closing up a little bit too, but Friese, even with slipstream down start finish straight, not able to make a move. In fact, I think we're likely to see a move from Paul O'Grady, who's caught up to the back of Tim Bob, who's had a bit of a difficult race this weekend for the championship leader, and probably to be championship, as two championship leaders in the AM class are fighting amongst themselves. Paul O'Grady down the inside up to P10.
So we're getting very close between them. Maybe take a switch back here with Tim Bob, or just had a tap on the brakes there, wasn't perfectly positioned, got a bit too close. Oh, Carol Shack and Hill fighting. It's Carol Shack fighting up to second place now. Oh, third place, my mistake. Yeah, from fourth to third. So onto the podium positions is Carol Shack now, with Dondolo half a second back.
Now, drivers up to the line. It is going to be so tight if we get another lap in here. Stevie crossed the line on like 1:29 exactly. We're seeing high 28s at the tail end of this race. So will there be one more lap? Well, it's all up to Stevie. Through turn one though, Ashil trying to fight back on Johan, has to jump over that second apex curb. Might actually get a cutback here through the exit of turn two. Can he get himself alongside? He does indeed. It's going to be neck and neck towards the hairpin here.
And this is just bringing Dondolo closer to the fight between the two of them, and if there is one more lap between them, this could be a fight between the two of them for who's out of the previous leaders of the race will finish ahead. Ash Hill, though, keeping the position ahead, regaining it and holding on to it.
Johan thinking about trying to pry the door open on the inside of the hairpin, as Ashil just left a little bit of a gap. Was clever enough to cover the cutback off on the previous hairpin, but Johan trying to force the issues. This could be the final lap through the S's. They're running side by side. towards the final corner. It's still side by side. Ashel on the inside and Gus Peters to the inside of Dondolo. It's 2 by 2 as they come round here. Will it be the final lap? Will we see one more lap? One more lap. Stevie being crossing line with just under a second left in the race. Johan with the outside line has the momentum and pulls in front. Gus Peters is in front of Dondolo, defending the inside heavily as they come towards T1.
Oh, and a bit of contact between the two of them sends Dondolo off backwards, but manages to save it and rejoins right behind the two of them.
Meanwhile, in the background, Friese still hasn't got the move done on Lucas Smits. They have 2 sectors to do so. Into turn 4, Johan on the back of Hashil once again. Gus Peters trying to go round the outside of Sedia. These two fighting so hard over 5th position. Into the hairpin, Gus Peters is going to the inside. Ashil is going to defend. The inside is not going to let Johan get through again. Gus Peters into the door of Johan, spins them round. They use the front wheel drive to get going again, but that's going to guarantee Ashil a podium position and leave Johan fighting for P4. Gus does get themselves in front into the S's, but Johan's going to fight back through the second part. Gets in front. Can Dondolo make up any last places as they come through the final couple of corners?
That's Carol Shack running out wide there, but ahead of Peters as they form a train here.
It's a
Doesn't look
drag
like
race.
There's going to be any positions here.
Yeah, it's a drag race up to line. Unfortunately, it's not enough. Stevie Bean will take their 3rd victory of the series. Well done to them. Jacob Hine would have settled for 2nd, 1 second back. Ash Hill picks up the final podium place ahead of Johan. Peters taking P5, separating the 2 championship contenders, as Friese did get the move done on Lucas Mintz, who fell behind Overstreet there at the end. Paulo Grady with half cell for P10, Tim Bob P11. Adam Ide in 12th and Zach Silver did not finish the final race of the season. Well,
very close fight between Kawashak and Dondolo there. They were almost bumper to bumper in the penultimate lap, and Gus Peters just went, "Allow me to introduce myself," and made that a very interesting final lap.
Yeah, it was a very, very interesting final lap indeed. Some great racing in the final race, as we've seen all throughout the series. I don't know about you, but I kind of wish that continued on for a couple more laps.
Oh yeah. 15 minutes is too short for me. I like my longer races. But when it is the sprint race and they are shorter, it really brings out the wildest out of people because they know they have to fight for that position.
Yep,
that's definitely what we saw.
Is indeed. Speaking of fighting for positions, Stevie had to do a bit of fighting in the second race after that lap 1 incident, but eventually you could say it worked out as it got him the 3rd race victory. Let's see if we might be able to have a little chat with him. Stevie, brought you down to the comms box after winning the final race of our JCW Mini World Tour, your 3rd victory of the season. How are you feeling after that?
Pretty good. Another reverse grid bandit win. Although I messed up the start so much, I think I started in about 4th last on the grid. But yeah, it was pretty good. Nice fighting through a few helpful incidents, I guess, for me. Maybe not for others, but made the most, and then managed to get in front of Jacob, but didn't really drop him much. So fair play to Jacob, keeping 2nd.
Yeah, using that slipstream to hold up to you. Obviously, let's go back to the second race for a moment. Well, actually, let's go back to the first race of the evening. You were in 4th. You finished 4th position. Let me just get up. Qualified 4th, finished fourth, but your pace wasn't that much. It was actually pretty equal to the leaders. Was that giving you some confidence? Okay, you'd fallen back after fighting with Paul a bit behind you, but did that give you some confidence that, oh yeah, you might be able to have a good or second and third race with how the first race went?
Yeah, definitely. Seeing that I was doing pretty much equal lap times, sometimes a bit quicker, sometimes a bit slower. You know what it's like, kind of ebbing and flowing. But couldn't catch them, but it was enough to stay in front of everyone else in race one. Thought, well, see how we get on race two, because race two has usually been pretty good for me. Um, when it's went right anyway. It didn't, as I'm sure you saw. But yeah, so an interesting one. But it was good to fight at the end of race two as well and get slightly further back on the grid, I guess, in race three. But maybe I did that all wrong.
Yeah, were you a bit disappointed with your second qualifying because you were up there P4 first qualifying, but only P7 in the second qualifying? Do you think maybe if you'd got yourself a little bit further up, you might have been a bit luckier and avoided the lap one incident?
Yeah, possibly. Although I felt like I was kind of challenging for about third at the point. So yeah, it wasn't a great qualifying. I definitely had more. Well, I say I had more time, and I thought I did a better lap on the last lap, and it didn't actually improve at all. So maybe I didn't. Um, but these things happen, and yeah, still made for a good couple races.
Yeah, and on that final race again, just you said sort of luckily the few instants went your way. It just how chaotic. I mean, we were barely able to keep up with everything going on in that race. How just tightly packed it was from like sixth down to last place. How difficult was it from in the car, like looking out?
Yeah, I'm racing in VR, so like you're sometimes going down. You can see the wing mirror almost coming into the side window. You've got kind of nothing on the other side, and especially when you go through the fast chicane at the end of the track, because it doesn't take much to flick the two wheels up off the curbs in these cars as well. So yeah, fairly intense. But that's what I've loved about this championship. It's the close racing, it's the door banging, and it's been great every week. Um, yeah, it's a shame to see a little bit lower of a grid tonight, but because the cars are so good, it didn't really matter. It was still a lot of fun.
Glad to hear it was a lot of fun. Are you glad to see the back end of the minis, or um,
No,
no? You
no,
wish
I
we were
love
doing
them.
some more with them?
Yeah, they're fantastic. But I'm interested. I've not had a shot of the next cars yet. Um, so I'm gonna have to have a wee shot at them and see what they're like. See if they'll be just as good.
Yes, you make a good point. Next season, we haven't actually discussed it here yet at all, but yeah, we'll announce that. But thank you very much, Stevie. Hope you glad to hear you had some great fun throughout the series, and well done on your 3 victories. And I can say your P4 finish in the overall championship. Well done.
Ah, nearly there. But no, thank you, and yeah, hope it was all good racing on the stream as well. Entertaining
Some
for everyone watching.
fantastic racing.
So yeah, thank you very much. I'll leave you to close out the stream.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Stevie. Yes, as Stevie mentioned, next season we did announce over the weekend we have British stock cars coming up next season. Down to a 6-week series, but we will have some great racing action. Similar, well, different formats coming up throughout the season. We'll have some sprint races, we'll have some feature races, and we will have an endurance race, 80 minutes in the season as we head through some great British tracks. But I want to talk to a couple more people as just making sure the standings are updating properly on our back end. before we can show them on the stream. So let's pull down second place finisher for that third race. Let's pull down Jacob Hine. Jacob, brought you down to the comms box to talk about the final round of the mini championship. Finishing there on a second place, how did you feel your evening went for you?
I feel that track was very difficult in qualifying for me. Did not have the best time there, but the races definitely went better when I wasn't throwing it off myself. Yeah, that last race couldn't have gone much better, to be honest. Couldn't quite keep Stevie behind, but managed to keep up with him for most of the end of the race. Only about a second behind it at the end.
Yeah, what do you feel like was your struggle in qualifying? Was it maybe like getting that one perfect lap where you hooked up every corners, and then was tire wear maybe a factor as well?
I feel like I mainly struggled in the last 3 or 4 corners, just keeping it on the road, which wasn't helped by the fact the qualies generally had less grips than at least the racers. Um, yeah, no, it's always difficult to get the perfect lap.
Yeah, indeed. And then, of course, end of the season. Let me just check. Taking P6 in the end. Happy with that?
Um, I I think I've enjoyed most of the races I've been in, so that's the main thing for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
championship's always a bonus.
looking ahead to next season, or well, before we talk about next season, are you glad to see the back of the minis, or are you gonna miss them somewhat?
They were good fun to race, but definitely not my favourite cars to drive ever.
So,
Um,
how are you looking to forwards British stock cars coming up next season? Excited for them?
yeah, they're going to be a real challenge. Um, Back to rear-wheel drive stuff, and they've got a decent amount of power behind them as well. So they're going to be real handful on those tight, twisty British tracks we've got.
Yeah, will be indeed. Well, thank you for coming along chatting with us. Glad to hear you enjoyed the season and look
You're
forward
welcome.
to seeing you back for British stock cars next season.
Thank you, Scotty.
So that was Jacob, as said, finished 6th in the overall standings. One last person we'll talk to, then hopefully we'll be able to get standings on screen for you. Go talk to Paulo Hydra. Just missed out on taking the championship win, finishing off in second place. But that's still a good result for obviously championship that didn't really get to feel the influence of success ballast as much. So welcome on in, Paul. P2
Oh,
in the amateur standings. You were fighting with Tim Bob there at the end of the final race. How did your evening go?
oh, had I known that was for a position, I would have maybe fought a little bit harder.
Unfortunately, the gap
Good.
was just a little bit too big there, but at least you can say in this final race, yeah, you did beat the AM champion in the final race.
Yeah, that's immediately the only race that counts. So I think I'm pretty happy. But no, it was good. It was geez, those minis. I feel like I don't know if it was just the whole pack kind of getting to grips, pardon the pun, with the track and the combo, but like the whole field in this last race, especially, just seemed incredibly close. Like even falling back from like previous or like from incidents or whatever, it's like it just was so difficult to catch back up. And the only way you're catching up is if people are battling ahead of you, which they were. So it was, yeah, no, it was a thrilling finale.
Thrilling finale. I mean, it was a bit of a disappointment in the first race, P11. You got caught up in a bit of an incident, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, yeah, no, there was a, um, yeah, yeah, there was an incident, which yeah, and then I kind of ended up being parked on the I suppose in the middle of the chicane, and I didn't want to go forwards or backwards, so I figured if I'm just stationary in the middle of the chicane, people will just go around me, and luckily they did. So I had to wait my turn to get back. But yeah, no, the racing was fun. I had I think I'm not sure if you caught it on the stream, but I was pulled for all of a second while Johan was behind me at one point there, so I'll take that to the bank. Uh, but yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Lots of battling up and down the pack there. That last race, even race two as well, it was chock a block the whole way through. There was never really much of a time for anyone to kind of just settle in. It just felt like there was always someone applying pressure either ahead or behind you. So it was a tricky one.
Mm.
Very interesting track though. Very like it felt like everyone was quick on it in a way that was like it was really hard to pass. There was a few places like towards the end of the sector and towards the end of the lap where you could kind of line up something, and then maybe turn one. But yeah, it was now maybe I was benefiting from the zero ballast that I'd ended up with having on the last race, but I felt I was able to keep ahead on the straights for the most part.
Yeah, because you had especially a good second, not just quali, but second race result as well. P6, both those sessions. Unfortunately, didn't go your way in the final race, but at least you had some good racing.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's the fun thing with these 3 nights, or sorry, 3 races a night. Um, you do have those. You can just kind of pick up and go on to the next race and kind of go from there. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But yeah, no, geez, happy to have gotten second overall. I hadn't realized it was quite so close. But yeah, no, it was geez, a lot of fun throughout.
Yeah. So glad to see the end of these minis, or are you gonna miss them somewhat?
Oh, I'm absolutely gonna miss them. I kind of like I would do these week in week out, like for the rest of the year if I could. Or maybe I don't know how much of that is I've enjoyed the minis part of it, or how much I've enjoyed the fixed setup part of it. But yeah, no, I felt it felt like it felt like there was a lot of opportunities for kind of racing. We'll say like I think I struggled with the lithiums in terms of it felt like I was always just battling the car itself to keep it on track. We'll say, or to like keep the tires in check.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, it just felt like I could just race for the 50 minutes start to finish, and like there was lots of ways to kind of juke and jive through the corners and whatnot to have some really cool battles and stuff. So I'll miss some of them. Some of the yeah, I think those front wheel drives pose such an interesting challenge on some of those like the motorcycle tracks and like anything with a long curve is just like, okay, where do I apply the throttle on this mini? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be going off the track if it's too soon, and I'm going to be losing a bunch of speed if it's too late. So it was all like there was some really fine margins. It felt like throughout all the kind of aspects of the racing. So I'll miss these ones a lot. But yeah, some exciting combos coming up, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, we did over the weekend announce the British NASCAR series for next season. How do you feel about them? You looking forward to them?
I haven't registered for them yet. I'm still kind of holding out to see what my availability will be with work and whatnot, but I'll be eyeing it closely. I was just watching someone doing a few laps on them, and they seem like a rather large handful compared to the minis. So I'd have to get some practice in before I fully committed either way. But those slots are filling up, so I should probably hop on that soon.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Paul, for joining us. Hopefully you can. We will see you next season. And yeah, some great racing tonight. Well done on your race 2 result in P6 overall, and well done on your second within the AM Championship.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
So yeah, as we were listening to those interviews, we do now have the final Championship standings. Here is the overall results. Forget about the success ballast now. There's no need to worry about that. But Serie Dondolo has held on despite that difficult final race. The first and second race victories means they take it by 5 points in the end to Johan. Friese, bit of a disappointing day for them. Struggled in third place through the first 2 races and was the third. Was last of our top 3 finishers in that third race, meant that they dropped 17 points back in the end. Stevie Bain with some good results, 3 victories as mentioned throughout the season, takes P4, 74 points off the top, and Gus Peters will take the final top 5 position. Jacob Hine will take P6, have Alfie Bevan in 7th, Ash Hill taking P8, have Otto Hartman P9, and Tim Bob, first of our AM drivers on the overall, will just fall behind Harkonnen and will have to settle for P10. Paul Grady, first one outside the top 10 in 11th. Adam Ede takes 12th, Zach Silver in 13th, Lucas Smits in 14th, and Ben Myatt in 15th. As we go look at the class standings, it will be Johan Kurlzak that takes the Pro Championship, 30 points in the end, ahead of Seria, who would beat out Friese in third. Stevie B 19 points back from Friese. If he could have just got third in one of those races, it would have been a bit closer. It could have been a little bit different. Gus Peters would hold on in front of Jacob Hine by 7 points. Jacob beating Alfie Bevan by a single point to P6. Ash Hill 8th, Otto Arten in 9th, and Matt Holman in 10th. In the AM standings, it will be Tim Bob at front with a 37-point lead to Paul O'Grady, despite a difficult final round. Adam Ede will take P3, 99 points off the top. Things a little more spread out throughout the AM class. Zach Silver taking P4, Ben Myatt P5, just 4 points ahead of Christian Overstreet, who is a single point ahead of Lucas Smits. So it was a tight fight there for P5, but Ben Myatt getting the best of it. Sean McGarl would be it. Andy Hearn taking P9, and Marco Toscano the final top 10 position. Well, I've done a lot of talking, but we still have Trinket here. Again, did you very much enjoy the only round you've been here for us? But was it a great round to watch?
Oh, absolutely. Especially with a track that I'm familiar with beforehand in an AMS2 championship that we've run previously. It's a great little track, but as I think was it Paul who mentioned it, saying it's quite a different one to race in front wheel drives, as something that I thought about during the race as well. So it was interesting to hear their perspective on how it was. Certainly one to drive in a different car, I'd imagine, if no one has before. But yes, seeing these minis all fighting neck and neck, so close in times, on the ragged edge on this wonderful Brazilian track, I believe it is. It was certainly a great watch, as well as that final reverse grid round. I do love a good reverse grid, so that's it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it was fantastic action as always. Thank you very much for joining us, Trinket, as Aidan wasn't able to join us this evening. Your company was really pleasant this evening.
Pleasant. Thank you very much. Glad to have been of assistance.
Yeah, and as said, we will be taking a break next week, as is the end of the season. We have a social race coming up. We're taking Estonia 25 cars around Torpazon. I'm butchering that pronunciation. But fun little cars, 4 15-minute sprint races, 2 of them being reverse grids next week. If you're free, do join us. Get involved, as they'll be great fun. And of course, as we did say, British Stock Cars Series, taking Euro NASCARs around 6 British circuits. Variety of formats, including some reverse grids, some an endurance race, and some feature races in between. There'll be some great racing, so much like what we've seen with the minis, hopefully. So join us for that if you can in Season 4 of oNiD 2025. But we still have a few races to go in Season 3. Tomorrow, we have the SimHound Academy on the Mon Ultimate, that will be on as newer drivers to sim racing get themselves up to speed, gain some experience. That will be at the Bahrain Grand Prix circuit tomorrow. 50 minutes of LMP2 and GT3 action. Oopsies, I pressed the wrong button. Watch as they have their final race to decide some final championship positionings. Then on Thursday, we have the final round of our oNiD, our British oNiD 4 Series, but the one international round will be heading to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Some long straights, more great opportunities for slipstreaming, should hopefully make some for more great racing that we've seen throughout that series. 35-minute race start off with, then a 25-minute reverse grid race, top 15 being reversed. Those races have been just as carnage as what we've seen in these minis. So if you've enjoyed these minis, do check out that oNiD 4 Series on Thursday. And on Sunday, our final race of Season 3, the final round of the 100 Series on the Mon Ultimate Spa, provided some very interesting strategy. So will we see some more at Sebring for the final round? 100 minutes, a pit stop, maybe 2 if you want to go aggressive. Make sure to join us there for as we round off what has been a brilliant Season 3. Again, no races, no streams next week as we take off, but we'll be back the week after for Season 4. One last time, thank you very much to Aidan Hard for joining me in the comm box for all season. Thank you to Trinket again for joining me this evening.
But of course.
And thank you to all those that joined us in the series racing as well throughout. Hopefully we'll see as many of you as possible back next season, if not for the rest of Season 3. But until next time, thank you all very much for joining us. And until next time, take care. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Bye-bye.